much how we all got reconnected for today. And we want to thank Facebook for that.
Yeah, George Loutherbach was the first music director here, been in student work since 1967, and then we figured out we'll go get the higher math. 44 years, and he's still in student work, and he's the chaplain at Mary Hardin Baylor right now. All right, we're just going to set the doors
to see you guys and to see the hope up here singing sure brought back a lot of memories. Those were transitional days back then. Our nation was coming off a war that nobody liked, called the Vietnam War. It was a very unpopular war. And there was a lot of unrest, a lot of anxiety among the youth. And they were rebelling and were doing things like growing their hair and taking drugs and stuff like this. And quite frankly, the church didn't know how to deal with it. They were scared to death. And I can remember when these long-haired hippies that, you know, some things changed. Bubba still hadn't cut his hair. Okay? But still, as long as it was back then, it just turned white. And it's still long. But he had longer hair then, and Miscavige, his hair was long, and Perez, he was just something else. And so I remember they come in here saying, you know, they wanted to, they had a group and they wanted to sing, and I thought, you're going to, you know, want me to get you in churches to sing? And so it was kind of scary. And I can remember a pastor after you know, we'd done some things in parks and that sort of thing, and kids were responding. And I remember a pastor calling me and said, you know, these guys, these singers, they're just going to lead our kids straight to hell. The way they look, you know, they've got long hair and they look scroungy and you know, they're just not doing, they don't look right, and we don't think we ought to support them. We're going to cut off the BSU from support because you guys are supporting them. I said, well, sir, you know, I understand, and I was teaching New Testament. In fact, I still teach New Testament. I was teaching New Testament, and I just taught Acts chapter 5. I said, sir, let me ask you something. I said, if Gamaliel said something in Acts chapter 5 that I think applies here. And when he was dealing with the Sanhedrin about Peter and John, they're preaching, he said to the Sanhedrin, he said, you know, if this is not of God, it will die. It won't go anywhere. But if it is of God, we better leave it alone. That's what he told them. And so I told this preacher, I said, you know, you're making a judgment here that you don't have any background for. If this is not of God, it's not going to go anywhere. But if it is of God, God will bless it. He hung up on me. Well, we knew, as history shows, that it was of God, because in that transition period, and as folks begin to see that these guys had genuine hearts, they may not look the way that they were supposed to look or dress the way they're supposed to dress, but their hearts were committed to Christ. And when people saw that, they responded to it. And so the Jesus movement came through the late 60s to meet that need that existed as a result of the unpopular war, and our guys coming back and nobody liking them because they didn't like the war, and everybody being unrest. The Jesus movement came in and met a need. And as people began to speak, as you know, John Bassanio was one of the first pastors to embrace it, and I appreciate him ever since for all that. And there were others that finally came around, David Slover and others that embraced it and said that these guys are for real. And if you could sense when these guys were singing up here a while ago, and they were saying that the powerful testimony that came through and still is moving today in their hearts and lives. And when I remember talking to these guys, they were just kids there, and saying to them, don't let this go to your head. Don't let this become an idol for you. Remember that your purpose is to reflect the love of Jesus and use the talent He gave you to do that. And they were becoming very popular, and and lots of folks were wanting their attention and this sort of thing. And I encourage them to keep their eyes focused on Him and not get diverted with all the attention. We've got a lot of singing groups out there today. But unfortunately, guys, some of them are singing to benefit their pocketbooks and using Christian music to do that. Not all of them, but I've dealt with some of them that don't have the right attitude about why they're doing what they're doing. And I always told these kids when they come talk to me, keep your eyes on Jesus. And they did. And they did. And that's been a blessing to look back on and to see how even though I was kind of here at the beginning, I left in 72 to go to Stephen F. Austin, but how it continued through the decade of the 70s and how God continued to use them and bless them. It's just been an honor and a blessing to have been a little tiny part of it at the very beginning when it was getting started. Out of John chapter 4. After Jesus had talked to her and after he had shared with her, he said, the woman said to him, I know that the Messiah is coming, he who's called the Christ. When he comes, he will tell us all things. Jesus said to her, I who speak to you am he. First time he'd ever revealed his messiahship to anybody was to this woman. The disciples came back. Marveled he was talking with a woman, but no one said, who do you seek? Or are you talking with her? And this next verse is so interesting to me. Because this woman came to the well for one reason. That was to get water. That's what she did. That was her purpose. In some ways, that was her identity. She was ostracized in the city because of her lifestyle. No one talked to her. No one liked her. She came out in the middle of the day. She came out there for one purpose, to get water and take it back. But Jesus talked to her, and she met Jesus there at the well. And here's what it says. So the woman left her water jar and went to town to tell people what had happened to her. The thing that gave her her purpose and meaning changed in an instant when she met Jesus. And she left her water pot. And she went back to town. She said, come see a man who told me everything I ever did. Can this be the Christ? And they went out to town. They went out to where he was and came to him. As a result, it says many people came to know him. He stayed there 2 days and had a revival there in Sychar. Because the woman left her water pot to go tell somebody. Folks, we live in a generation where we need to encourage, both by role modeling and by words, people to leave their water pots to go tell someone about Jesus. We have, as I see it, as I see our culture today, a culture of entitlement among a lot of our young people. They're entitled to get everything that they want. They feel like that they're entitled to it. I had a student in class about a year ago who came to me after a failing grade on a test and said, I just need to tell you something that I don't feel like I have to pass these tests. In fact, I don't even think I have to come to class because I paid for this class and I'm entitled to a passing grade. I said, wait a minute. You're entitled because you paid to take the class. I said, it doesn't work that way in college. Now, maybe in high school you can away with that, but it doesn't work that way in college. There is no entitlement here. She said, why not? I said, because you have to work for it. You have to earn it. You have to do something in order to pass the class. Totally new world for her. But we got a generation that feels entitled. They've been protected a lot by their parents. They've never known what it means to be told no. And they haven't experienced a sense of discipline as they're growing up. And the church has not been real helpful in some ways either in this. And what we're needing, as I sense it, is an awakening, is people to leave their water pots and to step out of the comfort zone and lose what they have, what they came to do in order to do something radical and different. That's what these kids did that came to see me 40 years ago. That's what they did. They were willing to leave the security of the water pot and step out into a new arena where no one had ever gone before, to use the talent, the God-given talent they gave them, to share Christ. And there are people in this room and all over who came to know Jesus as a result of that. And I'm sure if we could have a testimony from everyone here, you'd be able to say, yes, that was me. I was there. I experienced it. What I'd like to just say to you and to me is, God, do it again. Do it again. Raise up a generation of folks who will walk away from their water pots to do something radical and different and tell their culture who Jesus is. I've been reminded of some of the mission trips we took when I was here. One was to Bunch, Oklahoma. No one knows where Bunch, Oklahoma is. God's not even sure where it is. It's an Indian reservation out in the middle of nowhere, and you know, the highest temperature I think was about 21 or 2 that it got. It was cold, it was freezing, and there were all kinds of stories that went with that trip. I don't take those trips anymore like that. I go to England. I take students to England. I don't go to Bunch, Oklahoma. I guess it's still there. I don't know. I think John Lucas said he saw it the other day. But I was talking to a student over in Middlesbrough, England last May, and an 8th grader. And England is a very dark place, as you know. It's less than 1% Christian. And the only hope that they've got is through the young people. And we've recently read what's going on with their youth over there, and it's just not good. And God's laid on our heart at Mary Hardin Baylor to connect with this community called Middlesbrough. And so we've been over there for 5 years in a row now, working with these kids, and because there's no adult leadership there for them. There's no adult disciplers. We've got some of our students who are going to go there to live for a while and do some discipleship, and we've led people to Christ. I was talking to this kid, and he was saying, what do you say that Jesus has done for me? I said, well, I'll tell you what he's done for you. Something that no one else has. What's that? I said, he died for you. No. Yeah, he did. Why would he do that? Because he loves you. No, no one loves me that much. My parents don't even love me that much. I said, let me share some with you, Joe. Jesus Christ died on the cross for you, so that you could have a relationship with him forever. No one's ever done that for you, have they? No, no one ever has. I said, Joe, we live in a world that love is a word that's flipping around, and no one knows what it means to just use it to get what they want and this sort of thing. But I said, in Jesus Christ, we saw the perfect example of what love's all about. And he said, I've never heard that before. He said, I want that. And this little 8th grade kid came to know Christ because someone told him that Jesus loved him. Our culture needs to hear that. They hear a lot about him. They hear stories about him, but very few people understand how much he loves them. That he loves them enough that he died for them. That's powerful. That's powerful, guys. Throughout the New Testament, the main message that was preached was Jesus' death and resurrection. That's what they preached because of the power in that experience that happened. I challenge you, I challenge me. Let's pray for that. Let's do it. Okay? The legacy that we can leave is a legacy that says, we left our water pots to go and tell people who Jesus was. It's okay. Let's pray together. Jesus, I thank you for today, for this opportunity, for these people, for the blessings that I personally received just from being here and listening to the music and reconnecting with old friends and just sharing life. Our lives had some bumps in the road for us, and some of the bumps have been painful and heavy and hurtful, but you've never left us, because you're the same today as you were 40 years ago, 40 years before that, and 40 years before that. You'll be the same 40 years from now, because you're God and you don't change. So God, we thank you for the love that we feel, the experiences we've had, and we're challenged to move beyond our comfort zones to make a difference in our communities and in our churches. We love you so much. It's in your precious name.
From our hearts to you, we want to give you this, just a memento of what you mean to us. It says, presented to George Loutherbach for a lifetime of commitment to Baptist student ministry, presented this 13th day of August 2011 by the Friends of the San Jacinto College BSM 40th anniversary commemoration.
Thank you for being here. This is just a wonderful event, a wonderful occasion, and a wonderful time to remember what the Lord has done here in this building and on this campus. Wow, thank you guys for leaving a legacy for me to come behind and to be able to continue. When school starts on August the 29th, there's going to be about 15,000 students across that street. And so the school has grown incredibly since you guys have been here. And the mission has not stopped. In fact, it's grown more and more with students not knowing the Lord. And so we have several students who are excited about going across the street and bringing the love of Christ to them. We've got several things going on. If any of you are in the area, you would like for me to come speak at your church, your Sunday school class, let me know. I would love to come and let you guys know what's going on here at the BSM. You guys see the building? You see what's going on here? We're having a great time here. I've been here a year. Before then, I worked at the University of New Orleans and Tulane, and then LSU, and then now I'm here part-time. And that was one of my goals, is to be able to get this to a full-time director and staff here within the next several years. And so if you guys would pray with me about that, because you know the mission that's here on this campus and in this area. So I'll be walking around. If you guys have any questions, want to talk about what's going on, please, I'd love to visit with you guys. Thank you very much.
We're going to cut off the BSU from support. We're going to cut off the BSU from support. We're going to cut off the BSU from support.